Good morning. It is New Year's Eve and we are live. Let's dig right into it. Good morning, everybody. And as you can see, we have activated memberships per your request. I hope you enjoy them. We've just started to implement the emojis, and we're going to do something with the badges. I'm not exactly sure what we're going to do with the badges yet, but we're going to do something with the badges and change those up from just the standard ones that YouTube put out there. Something, we may just go with the heart and skulls as the badge for the Ride or Die Democrats, but let's do this. Let's just get into what's going on in the news today. To start with, we got a little bit of bad news. Not a little bit of bad news. We just have a lot of. This is bad. This is bad. This has happened. Very sad for the Kennedy family. I want to just, you know, I don't have the words for things like this. I don't. I don't. They've just suffered a tremendous loss. Tatiana Schlossberg, which is the granddaughter of John F. Kennedy, the daughter of Caroline Kennedy, passed away at 35 yesterday. And again, I really don't have the words. This was somebody that was much beloved within the Kennedy family. Just a bright young, vibrant. I just don't know the words. I don't. I just wish them all the peace and strength in the world. I do. They are reeling from this. She was diagnosed some time back with a rare form of leukemia. This is Tatiana Schlossberg in better days. She was very open in public about her battle with leukemia. This is Tatiana Schlossberg in, like I said, happier times. She was a journalist. She actually wrote for the New York Times. She did an interview with the New Yorker near the end of her life, again, where she very much highlighted her struggles, and she wanted people to see. She wanted the people to see this is her at 35 years old, fighting her ass off. And I am truly sorry for the Kennedy family. I am. In one of her last interviews, she was very vocal about her cousin, Robert Kennedy Jr. She really pulled no punches. This begins in reference to the stunt Kennedy pulled, this stunt. She actually wrote a story on this. This was one of her first stories. She didn't realize she was writing about her cousin at the time. No one knew he had done this. It had been a bit of a local New York story. I mean, it's not going to be national news that they found a bear, a dead bear in the park, but they did. And this was one of the first stories she wrote about, and she mentions that and other things in one of her final interviews. In one of her final interviews with the New Yorker, she says, like law enforcement, she told the Times, then I had no idea who was responsible for this when I write the story. again, referring to a freaking dead bear carcass being dumped in the middle of a park by her. Well, someone that is a professional really needs a psychologist. I mean, a real working, functioning psychologist, someone that is actually working today needs to email me and explain what the hell is wrong with Robert Kennedy Jr. I mean, is this guy a psychopath, a sociopath? What the hell? Who takes a bear carcass to a day? I mean, never mind. Never mind. I'm getting sidetracked. I apologize. But in her essay in the New Yorker, she called out her cousin for his actions as Secretary of Health and Human Services, describing him as an embarrassment to me and my immediate family. Under his tenure, she noted, funding for medical research is being cut at institutions like Columbia University, where her husband, George Moran, a urologist, is an assistant professor. And she feared that his job and those of his colleagues were at risk. She wrote of the horror she felt when Mr. Kennedy cut $500 million for research on mRNA vaccines, a technology that is also deployed against some cancers. After her postpartum hemorrhage, she was given I always have a hard time with this word, misoprostol, a drug used for medical abortions. She pointed out that her cousin had directed the Food and Drug Administration to review the drug after decades of safe use. She will be missed. She will be missed. She was one of those people that, you probably didn't know much about her. She again she didn't trade on the Kennedy name. She just worked her ass off as a journalist, and she had a lot to contribute, and we're much poorer for her loss, for losing her. But moving on to world events, this happened, and I have to tell you, this is just highlights the disservice the corporate media is doing to us. This is not good, folks. This is really not good. You may be aware that we struck a facility in Venezuela. This is Donald Trump. This is how we found out. He did an interview. He called in impromptu to a radio program on Friday. And this is his actual voice, folks. This man is having serious health problems. There's nothing done to this audio. This is him calling in on the phone to this radio program. I want to play it, and I want to point a few things out to it about it and the problem here. There are many problems, but there's a major problem. Just take a listen.
And we just talked out, I don't know if you read or you saw, they have a big plant or a big facility where they send where the ships come from. 2 nights ago, we knocked that out. So we hit them very hard.
Now, I just want to be clear about something. He could not tell these folks that were interviewing him what we struck. He fumbled around and fumbled around. He could not tell them. We attacked another country on their soil, not in international waters and the shit that they've been doing. I'm talking about we struck another country. He could not tell them what we struck. And I don't mean he couldn't tell them as, oh, it's a secret, I can't tell you. I mean, for days, he could not tell people. Barefootery, glad you're here. Thank you for being here. Waving to you neighbors. Glad you're here. I'm truly glad to hear. Glad to see the new supporters. Always glad to see the new supporters. Glad to see we're growing an audience. Jordan B. Miller, the corporate media are Trump cuckolds, can't stand them. While I got Jordan B. Miller on the line, I want to show you something. Let's put a pause on the show. This is New Year's Eve, folks. Let's I don't want it to be all negative. I want to show you this. This is so freaking cool. Jordan Miller, since I'm gonna wear this the rest of the show. Forgive my hair. Jordan Miller sent me this. This is so freaking cool, man. This is the first annual Jordan B. Miller Peace Prize. I'm telling you, when I say you people are not the same, when I tell you that you people are this better, this was Jordan trolling Trump for his bullshit FIFA Peace Prize. I would say this is real. I mean, it's engraved on the back, folks. It has my name and Jordan B. Miller first aid. It's and not only that. I'm going to keep this at my desk forever. This is great. Sends a certificate. The Jordan B. Miller first annual Peace Prize. That is some next level trolling, Jordan. That is next level, man. That is, so many people took to social media and popped out a comment and said something, snarky about his bullshit FIFA made up Peace Prize. This is next level trolling, my man. You killed it, brother. This is what the people in this community are all about, man. And when I tell you that you are next level, I mean that you are next level. Oh my God, that is hilarious. That is a thumbs up, my man. Good job. Good job, brother. But yeah, let's go back to talking about Trump. That was Friday. He did that interview. That was Friday. Couldn't tell them what they struck. Saturday and Sunday. Monday and Tuesday. People kept pushing and asking, what the hell is going on? Trump goes radio silent, man. There are breaking news stories out there, and you know that Trump is not one to not step in front of the cameras. And there are breaking news stories, and there's nothing. But the interview that they did with him on Saturday, they pressed him again. What do you mean we struck something in Venezuela? They're trying to get information out, to their people. Nothing. He called it an implementation facility is the best he could come up with. An implementation facility. Folks, we struck a logistics terminal is what we struck. We struck a loading terminal. A dock. I mean, a loading terminal. And the president of the United States had no clue. And I don't mean he had no clue because he wasn't told. The president is always briefed on. I mean, he could not recall. In multiple interviews, he could not recall. I mean, loading terminal or just a dock. I mean, this is not hard. This is Wednesday. And what is the corporate media doing? They're cleaning this up, man. I want you to think about that for a second. When they announced that they blew up these boats, each and every time they announced it, there was immediately a huge splash all over the news, all over social media, everything. It was just blown out there. We have struck a drug boat. We have, that's all you heard, drug boat. And there's still arguing about whether they were drug boats. Venezuela claims they were fishing boats. We don't know because we didn't bother to pick up or rescue anyone or, seize any drugs or anything like that. But think about that. Think about what happened in the news when those strikes happened. Now we have a strike on land. And the news media, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. This isn't front page news. They're not screaming about this. No, because the president, there is something wrong with this man. They couldn't get a straight answer out of him on the record. Now, they got told from the Defense Department, their reporters, they knew what had happened, but they couldn't get a quote from the president because he's just not functioning. And finally, they've cleaned it up. This is from, this is from Monday, folks. This is from Monday. Think about that. He announces it Friday on a radio program. Saturday, Sunday. This is Monday afternoon when finally CIA cleans it up. And we have no quote from the president that we can use. So they just finally ran with this. PBS is also cleaning it up. But nobody's talking about that. Nobody's talking about the fact that the president seemed to be not functioning for a weekend. That to me seemed like relatively important. When you're asking about strikes and the president of the United States cannot tell you what we struck, it to me, that seems marginally important. We have attacked another country, and the president of the United States cannot tell you with any clarity what we attacked, where we attacked, who was killed. This is the corporate media just telling you to your face they're carrying water for these people. I mean, in no way, in any other circumstance, have you ever seen them pause a story? Think about the strikes in Iran. Think about any strikes anywhere. There's not like a 3-day, 4-day pause before they do their reporting. No. They absolutely covered for the fact that something is wrong with Trump this weekend. I don't know what it is, but something is wrong with him. You heard his voice in that interview. He sounded like he was just completely exhausted. And then in multiple interviews, on Friday and Saturday, there were 2 interviews on Saturday where he kept saying implementation facility. Where they load the drug boats is the best he got out. Where they load the drug boats is the best. And then radio silence. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, nothing. Folks, this is important. This is important to know that. I mean, we're at the end of 2025. We're kissing this sorry ass year goodbye. We're going into 2026. 2026 is an election year. It is important to know that this is what the corporate media will do. Because no one is talking about this. That the president of the United States could not clearly define a target, drug boats. We struck the drug boats, all the drug boats. He literally said that. We struck all the drug boats. And corporate media doesn't care. Corporate media just doesn't care. Jordan Miller, the media is still treating Trump like he's still campaigning. Even when he was, when are they going to have, I mean, this is the president of the United States, folks. I've never been one of those people that said, oh, he stole the election, he this, that, and the other. I said, look, he's our shitty president. He is. I've never done that conspiracy shit ever. He's the president of the United States. How about holding him to the same fucking bar that you would hold every other person that has been president of the United States? Let's quit lowering the bar into the goddamn sewer for this guy. Because, you know, the world didn't quit spinning, folks. It didn't quit spinning because this idiot is in charge. It just didn't. And I got to tell you, you know, we're about to have some clarity. This is kind of what I want to talk about, you know, what we're looking at in 2026. We're about to have a really clarifying event. And there's no way around it. There's no way to avoid it. It's just gonna happen. So yeah, let's just get into some of the things that again, the corporate media are just not doing their damn jobs. I want to shout out to LA Taco. He shared this the other day on Facebook, and I thought it was fantastic. So I shared it on a lot of my social media. I want you to see it because this really sums up what's going on right now on social media. This is a great cartoon. I don't know who Ivan is, but I would love to know who Ivan is because this is an amazing cartoon. I mean, it sums it all up. It looks like it's a bit of a farm background. You can, you know, it's just nailed it. I don't care what the Epstein files say. I'd rather have a pedophile rapist grifting the country than admit I was ever wrong. Folks, this sums up what is going on social media right now to a T. To a T. Because instead of dealing with what's going on in the Epstein files and the fact that Donald Trump is clearly everywhere in the Epstein files and there's a ton of information to find out. I mean, they're not redacting nothing, folks. They're redacting damaging information, which means there's a lot of really shitty stuff to find out in the Epstein files that we're going to find out about. But the corporate media, nothing. They're cleaning up for Trump at every opportunity. Right now, MAGA, the people that were screaming about, you remember the QAnon shit? Remember when one of those crazy fuckers went into a pizza joint in Washington, D.C. because they thought Hillary Clinton was involved with, you know, children in the basement? You remember how crazy these people were? And then ran over and over and over again about, oh, the Epstein files, all the Democrats and the Epstein. Well, then they start releasing the Epstein files, not complying with the law, because what are they doing? They're covering up for Donald Trump and their Republican donors everywhere they can. And it's just awful shit is coming out. Drip, drip, drip. Day after day, we're finding out. And we're going to get it all, folks. We are going to get it all. But what's going on with MAGA? Are they bringing that same energy to the table of, you know, we got to get the pedophile? No, they're real freaking quiet. They are real freaking quiet. Yeah, man. QAnon. All those people, you know, these right wingers, they are just dead silent right now. They don't want to talk about Epstein anymore. They don't. Ollie, 1976. Red, white, and blue looks good on you. Happy anniversary. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you. This is so cool, man. I'm telling you, Jordan, I love this, man. I'm telling you, it's metal. This is a real freaking metal. He had a medal made. How cool is that, man? Oh my God. I'm gonna cherish this forever. But look, they don't want to talk about any of that. They've gone completely radio silent on pedophiles and all that stuff. What do they want to talk about? Made up shit. Made up shit. Somebody threw them a bigotry bone and they're all over it. Damn, out of coffee. Somebody threw the right wingers a bigotry bone, and they're all over it. A little bit of bigotry. They don't want to talk about the pedophilia stuff. Their guy's in trouble. They never had any morals. They never had a backbone. MAGA was never, these are just, let's be honest, they're shit people. They are shit people. They are. They're not like us. We want every pedophile in the Epstein files burned to the ground. You got Bill Clinton saying, look, man, y'all are just, screwing my name. Release all the information because I want to clear my name. Release it all. What do you got? Republicans, they're redacting everything, man. Redacting everything and protecting all their Republican donors. We're protecting Donald Trump. They're redacting pictures of grown-ass adults that have nothing to do with victims, just donors that are sitting next to Epstein. They're redacting the pictures so you can, blurring out pictures so that you can't see that. So what's going on in social media? What are they talking about on social media? Oh, man, they found some black people to attack. So, yeah, that's what they want to talk about. And this happened. This didn't happen over proven fraud. This didn't happen. This actually happened over something that's going to blow up in their faces, people. They did have some fraud, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that, but I want to show this to you, just how desperate and screwed up they are. And this really is blowing up in their faces. Jordan B. Miller, we know from the survivors about the Trump abortion of a 13-year-old. I'm telling you, the stuff that's coming out in those Epstein files is nuts. I mean, it is gross. Said Tisa 211, hey, Texas Paul, I think that we need to get this orange orangutan out of office. No shit. I agree with you. Amen. Amen. Jordan Miller, back in, I believe Miss Texas Paul was a co-recipient. She was. There is one for her, but she's private, man. She doesn't like the spotlight, so I don't do that. I don't do that. I'm quiet about it. 1 second. Chandra Patton in the house. Thank you for always being here, Chandra. I really appreciate you. Chandra. It's Chandra, isn't it? I'm mispronouncing your name. It's Chandra, isn't it? Thank you. Thank you. If I'm right about that, tell me in the chat. I hate mispronouncing people's names, and I'm really glad you're here. If Biden or Obama had done a fraction of this shit, they would have been removed from office so fast it would be smoke left. Yeah. The bar. What is the deal with the different bars? I mean, what is the difference? Oh my God. She is grateful, Jordan. She is grateful. She got hers too. She did. But yeah, this kid named, 1 second. Let me pull up your picture. One second. This kid named Nick Shirley. Did one of those bullshit videos, Turning Point USA, Project Veritas, bullshit gotcha videos. And this went ultra viral. I'm telling you, everybody on the right, this is what they wanted to hear, and they sucked it up, and it is blowing up in their faces. This kid goes to daycare centers in Minnesota claiming that there's all kinds of fraud, that they're getting fraudulent payments and this, that, and the other. And you see that notification? I want you to draw your attention. See that notification on the door right there? They blurred that out in the video. That was never shown. Even though he went up to the door, they never showed that clearly. And there was a reason for that. This is made up, complete bullshit. And it is blowing up in their faces because there are people out there that actually understand this. First of all, what they insinuated was that these daycares just got free money from the. It doesn't work that way. That program does not work that way. The parents of children at these daycares have to send in a monthly form, not to the daycare, to the federal government. Folks, these daycares can't just do this. It is the parents that send in a form to the federal government to have these funds released to the daycares to subsidize childcare. So the insinuation they made in the video is just complete bullshit. And there has been this fraud they're claiming is made up bullshit. It is. Like, for instance, that picture I just showed you. He went and said, this daycare is getting millions of dollars. And he holds up a thing where he says, look at all the money they got, this, that, and the other. Da, da, da. There are no children here. There are no children in this daycare. The reason they didn't show you the notification on the door was that daycare has been closed. And it wasn't closed over fraud. It was closed over violations. The state, the state doing its job, regulating these daycares. That daycare had been closed. But if they wanted to talk to someone, the hours were printed on that notice. They didn't open till 2. And you saw from the video that they released, the next daycare that they went to, they tapped on the door and somebody opened it up and they're like, we want to come in and see the kids. And they're like, fuck you. You can't come into our daycare. Screw you. What daycare would just let some random idiot kid walk into their daycare? Nobody. But she was holding up a phone and starts recording them. When she does, you get to see the front of her phone. And the time on her phone is 1:09. They knew they were at that daycare that they claimed was closed. And again, the insinuation was that this daycare was getting millions of dollars. No, it had been shut down, but they knew the office hours for the daycare. If they'd wanted to talk to somebody, it didn't open for another hour. Yet they sat there and looked you in the eye. Nick Shirley looks you in the eye and tells you, this is fraud. This daycare, there's nobody here and they're just sucking up money, and never tells you that it's closed. It's closed. And it's been shut down by the state for violations. Again, not fraud, violation. They were regulated. They had several kudos to the citizen journalists out there. I'm normally not a big fan of citizen journalists, but people have been going, these are a matter of public records. People have going into Minnesota public records and pulling up the months and months and months and months of violations before this place, and the notification that went out that this place has been shut down. People are getting it out there. This is blowing up in their faces, folks, because again, what they're telling your drunk ass uncle is not how this program works at all. And it all comes from this. It all started with this. Nanang 363. Good heavens, now I'm going to have to sell my Bill Clinton merch. I know, right? Oh my God. Renee Green 6036. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting the show. Yeah, I mean, folks, it is insane the way these people operate. And that is such a great comment. I'm going to have to sell my Bill Clinton merch. They're the ones running around wearing MAGA hats. They're the ones wrapping their trucks. They're the ones that are still sporting Trump campaign posters on their houses, and they say we have Trump derangement syndrome. Yeah, right. I don't own Bill Clinton merch. I don't own Joe Biden merch. Vince in the house. Sorry, all I sent was a paper. No, that was actually really cool. Folks, Vince lives near the Grand Canyon. I was talking about the Grand Canyon today. Vince mailed me a paperweight. Actually, I don't have it here. Mrs. Texas Paul has it. She really thought it was cool. Where he took a really cool stone that he found. He lives a few miles away from the Grand Canyon. Out on his place, he was out walking around, found this really cool stone with the strata on it, and he did a really cool painting on it. I'll bring it in here one day, bud. I will bring it in here, man. I really appreciate it. It is very cool. It is very cool. It is very cool. But yeah, this is where it all started. This is where where it all started. Ah, you're too cool. You're too cool. Mrs. Texas Paul just ran it into me. Isn't that cool? Isn't that freaking cool? I mean, that is freaking cool. That comes from Arizona, my people. That is too kind. Yeah, that is too kind of you, man. That is really cool, man. This is where all this started. Okay. This is where all this started. This is an investigation that ramped up in 2022 under the Biden administration. But of course, the Trump administration is claiming credit for all of it. All of the work, all of the prosecuting, all of the investigating happened during the Biden administration. But of course, the Trump administration is saying that they did this shit because a lot of the plea deals and the convictions are coming out now. But hey, they want to claim credit for it. They claim credit for it. I won't knock them too badly for that because it's just the way it works. When it happens on your watch, you take the blame for it. It happens on your watch, you get the credit for it. Fine. The Trump DOJ prosecuted these people, and it started with this charity feeding our future, and this is Amy Bach. Of course, when this happened, remember, they know they got to throw some bigotry out there. MAGA equals bigotry. It just does. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. They release that and then blame the Somalians. They blame Black people. Well, this is the person responsible for it. This is Amy Bach. And she doesn't look like she's fucking Somalian to me. She just doesn't. This is Amy Bach. And it's $250 million worth of fraud over several years, about $50 million a year in fraud. But this is, I mean, she had to surrender a Porsche. She's being ordered to surrender like $5.2 million that she took herself. Yeah, this is the person, and this is the way it shook down, folks. This is what happened. And I want you to keep in mind, we're going to talk about COVID several times during this show. We are. This is one of the times it's relevant. It's completely 100% relevant. During COVID, the government was just pissing money out into the public as fast as it possibly could. Are they, are they investigating and prosecuting members of Congress that took COVID loans? No, they're not. But there was program after program after program designed to pump money into, and we're going to talk about this more with some economic data. We're going to take a look at a few charts. Stick with me through the charts. I know they can make your eyes glaze over, but they're important. Santisa 211, I hope she is in jail for a good long time. Amen, sister. Amen. Amy Bach will get a Trump pardon. Yeah, she probably will. Lord knows drug dealers and everybody else is getting them. This was the grift. This is what they did. They went out into the community and they told these people. They didn't walk into bodegas and businesses in the Somali community and say, "Hey, let's commit the crime of the century. Let's just steal some money." No. The grift was, well, the government wants you to have this money. They're trying to pump money. Look at this. I mean, you have to understand the frame of for reference, you have to understand what was going on in the world right now. The government was trying to pump money into every industry they could to reopen the economy and get everything rolling again. They went to these businesses and said, the government wants you to have this money. Marshall Cash, 205, Texas Paul, you are one cool, crazy dude. I love you, man. Best wishes to you and your wife in 2026. Thank you, Marshall. I appreciate you. Marshall, I appreciate you. I really do appreciate you being here, man. I really do. Folks, this was the grift. They went out to the community and they said, they want you to have this money. They do. All you got to do is fill this form out. The government doesn't care. They want you to have it. Just fill this form out. We'll take care of the rest. And folks, these are immigrants. These are people that are assimilating into our community. About 80 of them said, okay, and committed crimes. They committed fraud. They did. They committed fraud. Now, where are the investigations into all the loans everybody else took, members of Congress and all these corporations, and where are the deep dives into it? We don't know. But hey, they got some black people. They do. They got some black people. So that's what Republicans are running with. And they're claiming, you're going to hear this a lot, it's billions. It's billions. They say it's $8 billion. They say, folks, no. For that number to be correct over this time period, it would have meant that these 80 people and this charity, one charity, took everything out of all of the money. It was $18 billion that the government spent in Minnesota over this time frame. They're saying that $8 billion is what these people stole. These daycares. And no, that math don't math. It doesn't math. And you see here, the largest charity right there, it was $250 million. They proved it. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of damn money. So why are they saying $8 billion? Where does that number come from? They pulled it out of their ass. Do you want to know the relevance of $8 billion? $8 billion is what economists speculate the entire economic contribution of the Somali community in Minnesota is over the same time frame. That's where they get that $8 billion. And why are they inflating these numbers? Why are they just making these numbers up? Because, I don't know, Rick Scott and his company got busted grifting $1.8 billion. It's to insulate your drunk ass uncle against all the shit that they've done wrong. And they just give them some bigotry. So they're like, cool. Yeah. Hate them black people stealing our welfare money. It's the same old trope. It's the same old welfare shit. It's give them somebody else to hate. Tell them that they're better than everybody else. And that you and me, we Democrats, we're with them people, them black people that stealing the money. We just love them. That's what you're seeing on social media. Democrats just can't defend enough crime. And the guy that's posting that lives in a fucking trailer in Alabama with cars up on jacks. But he's got somebody to look down on. They gave him somebody to look, and it's working with them. It is working with them. It doesn't matter that none of the numbers make sense. It doesn't matter that their viral video has just been shredded for being unfactual and just straight up dishonest. And that this kid, Nick Shirley, turns out he's a propagandist. He just took a trip to Israel and pumped out a bunch of freaking propaganda there. I mean, that video is just getting destroyed on social media. All that matters to them is black people. And they will believe and say anything after that. Black people did blank, and then after that, it doesn't matter what gets said. So Republicans are taking the opportunity to insulate themselves for all of the freaking crime and shit that they've committed and try to distract from the Epstein files. And this one, I got to tell you, is not playing like they'd hoped it played. It's just not getting that much play. And they're hurting people for no particular reason. VFFR, I hope your coffee's as good as mine. I really do, and I mean that. I appreciate you, Michael. I appreciate you. Thank you for being here. Folks, the story that is coming out of this is they're intentionally attacking Democrats. And I mean attacking. I don't mean these false allegations bullshit. I mean, they're intentionally hurting blue states. They are trying to cause economic problems in blue states. They're intentionally hurting Americans in blue states because they think it's going to serve them electorally. And it's not. Heidi Gordon, thank you for being here. Thank you for all the support. It's always okay if MAGA does it too. Yeah, they just, this is really gross, folks. This is really gross. How many times have you seen Democratic presidents sign legislation to expand, to expand military facilities all across the South and in Republican states? How many times have you seen them sign bills so that a corporation can build a plant in Tennessee? Komatsu can build a plant in Tennessee. Honda can build a plant in Tennessee. We can dump money into Fort Worth where they're building F-35s. We can dump money into, Alabama and the Carolinas and all of this shit. Democrats do it because it helps Americans. Republicans, Trump, they are intentionally hurting people in Democratic states. They're intentionally hurting Democrats, thinking that it will help them, it will save them electorally. And this whole they're eating the dogs, eating the cats, freaking fraud thing just isn't going to fly. It just isn't going to fly. They're trying to run the MyPillow guy in Minnesota. So the next few days over social media, you're going to try to get, you've got these people that supposedly cared about the Epstein files, supposedly cared about pedophiles, that all they want to talk about is Somalians and how all Somalians and all Muslims need to be deported. And again, in Colorado, doing the exact same thing. They're closing facilities in Colorado to try to suck economic activity out of blue states. Yeah, multiple programs in Colorado, Joe Emily. Multiple. And now they're trying to run the MyPillow guy. Somebody said, isn't he in prison? No, he's running for governor in Minnesota, the MyPillow guy. Yeah. But folks, this is why this has been an incredible miscalculation on their part, and they don't really understand why this isn't working, why it isn't blowing up in their faces. The bigotry is working with their core base. 25%, oh yeah, man. That's all they want to talk about is Somalis. But not only do we have the drip, 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 drip of the Epstein file, not only do we have Trump just blowing shit up in Venezuela with no clear picture why. I mean, what are they trying to do? Jordan B. Miller, Trump and Republicans have waged a civil war in the United States. They are crossing a very red line here. They are openly attacking Democrats. And this is why this is going to be such a big deal. Economically, I want to point a few things out to you. Let's just do a recap of 2025. This is what Trump was looking at when he came into office. We're going to come back to this chart a couple times. I want you to take a look at this. This is inflation and median wage growth from 2020 to 2023 through 2023. I want you to pay very close attention to this hump right here, this spike right here in inflation. The blue line is inflation. The red line is wage growth. And you're seeing wage growth up and stable, but inflation is outpacing it. What is going on right here to cause this? And the answer, they just got the COVID vaccine rolled out in 2021, 2022. The economy reopened. And if you remember what's going on in the world, and this is important, again, frame of reference. If you remember what's going on in the world, this didn't happen as a globe. The earth did not reopen. We all took one step and we're all good. No. Joe Biden moved heaven and earth in 2021 to get those vaccines rolled out and in people's arms so that we could reopen our society and our economy. Randy Ryder, 6776. Thank you for being here. Texas Paul, Happy New Year, sir. Please tell us, do you think there's an Epstein estate attorney who has all the docs that are unredacted? Not all of them. No, there's a lot out there, brother. But there's a lot of information out there in the estate that is going to clarify. It will be enough that we're going to hold hearings after the midterms. When Democrats take control in the midterms, this is going to be a big deal. There's going to be enough information out there to be useful to open the door for us to just tear through these documents. Quicksilver 0922, they're really going to make it hard to vote next year. Start planning now, people, because they started attacking the mail-in vote already. Great advice. Absolutely. 100%. 100%. This is going to be work on our part. But I want you to compare that last graph. Again, one more quick look at that graph. This graph, you can see the hump and where it is. Inflation spiking, you can see where it is, right? Now compare it to this graph. This is our deficits. This is our deficit. The spike is just prior to the inflation spike. And that makes perfect sense. The economy shut down, but the government didn't close for business. It was still spending money. In fact, it was spending money as fast as it possibly could at this point to try to keep everything from economically collapsing. That's what was going on. Meanwhile, and since this stuff kind of, there's a thing among politicos, 6 months is the window. After 6 months, an event won't really matter anymore because we have short memories. We do. Patricia Hoganson, for my 72nd birthday yesterday. Happy birthday. Everybody wish Patricia a happy birthday. Happy birthday to you, and thank you for supporting the show. I'm truly grateful. Folks, this is what was happening at the time. just a reminder, this is what was going on. This is what our world looked like. We had so many patients in hospitals. They were turning patients away that, they were telling people that weren't sick enough to go home because they didn't have room for them. They were stacking patients in the hallways. We were getting ventilators from anywhere we could source them, anywhere. They couldn't manufacture enough ventilators to keep the demand ahead. We were PPE. You remember fighting to try to get our hands on PPE. You notice that none of the people in that picture had appropriate PPE for COVID on because we were scrambling to get that stuff. Then there was this. People were dying so quickly. Hospital morgues could not keep up with them. Sitting morgues could not keep up with them. They were literally just stacking the bodies until they were overflowing. So we had to do this. We took refrigerator trucks that would normally be delivering food and we turned them into mobile morgues. One of the ways we pump money into the economy is there was a company out there that built shelves to go into reefer trucks so they could be used as mobile morgues. One of the contracts that just got no big contract that just got thrown out. We were pissing money out as fast as we could. And then, hey, I will give Trump credit that Operation Warp Speed, they developed the vaccine very quickly. The problem is they couldn't get it into anybody's arms because Republicans can't govern. Trump cannot govern. The people around him are always incompetent. Nobody ever thought, okay, we're going to have Operation Warp Speed. What do we do when we get a vaccine? No, they were talking about, let's just let everybody die. We'll just, cut everybody. That's all they could focus on was just cut everybody loose and reopen the economy and the schools and everything. We'll just reopen, we'll just let it run its course. That's what the right wingers were saying. Nobody was thinking, what do we actually do when we get a vaccine? In comes the Biden administration. And the first question they asked is, okay, we've got 3 drug companies that have come up with 3 different vaccines. Remember, it was 3 different vaccines, and we were trying to figure out which one to take. And remember all that? That's what was going on during this time. We didn't have vials. All they had were the big freaking vials. I mean, this big and this big were the 2-size vials that it came in. So it couldn't be distributed to a doctor's office, or it couldn't be distributed out to, herd immunity. They kept trying to talk about, we need to get herd immunity and all that. Y'all remember all this, right? In comes Biden, moved heaven and earth to get us the right size vials so this could be distributed everywhere. Remember the cars lined up because we had to go to a parking lot to get our vaccines? Because the vials were this freaking big and only a health professional could be trusted to hold, And then we didn't have enough needles. All of it. You remember all of it, right? Biden administration moved heaven and earth to make that happen. We all got shots on our arms, then they reopened the economy. And when they reopened the economy, inflation skyrocketed. That's that blue line, man. 2021, they got everything open. And then 2022, the economy's open. Everybody's back at work and everybody wants to buy shit, but there is no shit to buy because it didn't happen globally. It took time for those closed factories to open back up around the world. It took time. Remember, China was not in the same place we were in the West, in Europe, and the United States. China was nowhere near that. China was being ravaged. So factories around the world couldn't catch up with demand. Inflation spiked. That's why we got that big blue line. But they went to work, man. They went to work. They said, okay, what are the problems? What is holding us up? Biden administration said, holy shit. The factories are opening back up, but they can't ship. Why can't they ship? They don't have shipping containers because during COVID, we paid, Europe paid, every first world country ponied up cash to make sure that we didn't end up with the third world nations reinfecting everybody again. So we all bought them PPE. We all bought them. We shipped them vaccines. We shipped them needles. We shipped them PPE. We shipped them everything we could. But the problem is these third world countries didn't have the economic activity to ship the shipping containers back. So the shipping containers hit these countries and they stayed there. They stayed there. That was one of the huge logistical problems that the Biden administration fixed. There were literally ships filled with empty shipping containers, taking them back to China, and we were eating the cost of that. To get the global economy, us, Europe, all the first world countries were eating the cost of that. Yeah, toilet paper was a disaster. All of that was happening, folks. That's what this chart means. But what happens? They do the work, and that inflation plummets. It plummets. It does. But here's the problem. The global economy, things were great here in the States, man. We did a great job coming out. We had a really competent, but you know what? It wasn't that way. We had the right-wing insurgents. Remember Italy was electing its first fascist since World War II. You had Putin's right-wing influence all over Europe. So no, their economies weren't doing as well as ours. And our economy that took off like gangbusters, like I always compare it to Woody Woodpecker. You remember that old cartoon with Woody Woodpecker where, winter comes, he didn't prepare for it and he ends up frozen. And then all the animals take him in and they take care of him. They hate the guy because he's a jerk all year round, but they're not going to let him die. So they take him in and they thaw him out and then they feed him. And then winter comes and then out goes Woody Woodpecker again. Woohoo! And he's just as bad as he always was. That's what I always compare what happened to our economy with our economy. It took off like gangbusters. Rest of the world didn't keep up. The inflation was a drag on our economy. It slowed it down. And our government was intentionally choking our economy. Because, folks, 9% inflation is a problem. So where does that leave us? That leaves us with the election. It's the economy, stupid. Our government, because it's the right thing to do, was choking the economy to force inflation down, passing things like the Inflation Reduction Act. All of these things were meant to slow down the economy, to bring inflation under control, which is not a good feeling. People were upset, but it was working. It worked. It really, really, really worked. Again, one more look at the deficit map, just as a reminder. Deficits exploded during COVID and then boom, right back under control. This is where the economy, around September 22, the economy was screaming hot and taking off. So deficits drop when the economy is doing great because that means more tax revenue coming in. And this next little section, you can see where the government intentionally grabbed a hold of the economy and started choking it. to slow down economic activity to get inflation under control. And it worked. It worked. It worked. Jason Crow, Happy New Year, Texas Paul. Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to you, folks. It worked. This is what happened right up to the election. We lost the election, a good part of it due to the economy. The fact that they were intentionally choking the economy and people were dealing with that inflation, it really, it is one of the number one, it is, if not the number one, it is one of the number one reasons why we lost that election. But if you look at this inflation chart, what happens? I mean, you see, Donald Trump absolutely reverses all of the lowering trends to the point where he's overcoming a lot of the good work the Biden administration did. You see it spiking. And this one, they list each Liberation Day, the China pause, all the different times that he slapped more tariffs on different parts of the world, our trading partners. Inflation starts to rise again. Here's the problem, folks. Here's the problem. The government was intentionally slowing the economy. What needed to happen was, at this point, interest rates, and this is what the Fed would have done. This is what the Fed would have done. They would have incrementally lowered rates, interest rates, to get the economy humming again. That's what they do. That's how they incentivize the economy. That's how they get it rolling. That's how they get it rolling. It was intended to be a soft landing so that we would have the tools in our toolbox to, again, once inflation was under control and back around 2.5 to 2.9%, that area that we want it to be in, they would start stimulating the economy again at a slow, measured pace, and we would get that same economic growth that we had. What did Trump do? Tariffs. Which was absolutely the worst thing you could possibly do in that situation. He took an economy that had been intentionally choked and was skidding, and at that point, needing stimulus. It was needing stimulus. This is why Trump has been screaming at the Fed, cut rates, cut rates. But they can't, because Trump totally screwed their ability to do it. Now we have both. We have stagflation. We have an economy that's slowing and continuing to slow. But we have inflation again because of the tariffs. And the dumbest among us, the right-wingers, are celebrating, saying, oh, look, the tariffs are in place. Inflation ain't that bad. Inflation's not that bad. The fact that inflation isn't that bad with these tariffs being slapped on top of everything is not a good thing, people. It means the economy is dying. That it's simple math, folks. The economy gets hotter, you will see greater demand. The only reason inflation hasn't turned to hyperinflation is there's no demand. The economy is crashing because this was absolutely the worst thing they could possibly do. They completely interrupted what would have been a natural cycle of just stimulus. And why can't the Fed do this? Why can't the Fed stimulate the economy? Because if they do, that inflation will turn into hyperinflation. And they're facing other issues at the same time. These idiots have set us up for a Great Depression, a 2008 era crash. Thank you for sticking with me through these charts. I appreciate you. I know they're not the greatest. Jason Craw, Happy New Year. I appreciate you, Jason. I really do. Thank you. That's another one that's going on. Yeah, Russia says it's okay if China invades Taiwan, and now suddenly China is surrounding Taiwan with boats. That we're going to talk about that on Friday. Biden's economic soft landing will be studied for decades by serious people. Not now. Start getting involved, people. But here's the problem. That whole soft landing, which soft landing sounds better than I'm strangling the economy. Purposely. And it worked. It freaking worked. But now the Fed can't do what the Fed normally does. It can't stimulate the economy because that will lead to hyperinflation on top of these systemic problems. Folks, we talked about the debt and deficit. The tariffs are artificially pushing down the deficit. It's unsustainable because when the market crashes, the tariffs won't matter. All of that tariff revenue will evaporate when the next crash happens. Our deficits will again explode, but they'll explode at the same levels that you saw with COVID. Why is that a problem? This is why it's a problem. This is our national debt. Folks, you see this hump right here where it takes off? This is one thing and one thing only. This rise right here is a policy decision by Republicans. This is when Republicans absolutely went to, you see where it starts. There was nothing here. Starts under Reagan, continues on under Bill Clinton, accelerates under George Bush, then accelerates again under Barack Obama because he was dealing with the absolute nightmare that Republicans created, the crash of 2007, 2008. So the government is spending like crazy. This is all stimulus money right here. This is not bad policy. Then in comes Trump. Then we have COVID. And again, massive stimulus spending to keep the economy going. But folks, here's the problem. We're seeing a divergence for the first time between GDP and debt. Normally, those charts pretty much will track with each other. They've been diverging and diverging and diverging. This next crash that they're setting up with is going to fundamentally alter the economics that our government is based on. The debt has reached a point now where it's unsustainable. The math no longer maths. Jordan B. Miller, tariff money is going to Argentina and farmers. Yeah. The way they're spending is idiotic. It is just idiotic. Their priorities are so screwed up. China is investing in places like Panama, places like, they're investing all over the Pacific. We're dumping money into the military. You cannot put jet fuel in a diesel tractor. Yeah, I get you. This isn't going to work. This isn't going to work going forward. Let me explain. Let me clarify. Let me clarify what we're talking about here. We have an economy that's faltering. We don't have the ability to use the traditional. Eventually, the traditional means to stimulate it, which is cutting interest rates, slashing interest rates. Eventually, by 2026, there's an event coming that they're going to have to. They're going to have to. These tariffs on top of that, we're going to have, now understand, we're going to have the tariffs in place, which affects prices. We're having a weakening dollar because the entire global community can see what this administration has done. The economy, the dollar, we've talked about this in previous shows, the dollar keeps slipping and slipping and slipping and slipping. When this next crash happens, and it is going to happen, folks, it's guaranteed. Even Peter Thiel is out telling people there's going to be a crash in 26. When this next crash happens, we are set up in a situation where we have the tariffs in place, but they aren't bringing in revenue. GDP is going to plummet, but the government is still going to have to spend. That's going to further devalue our currency. It's going to blow up our debt and leave us in a situation where long-term we are out of options. Our government will have to fundamentally transform to survive, or we will go the way of the Soviet Union. We're going to have to we will end up having to massively cut our military. I'm talking about as much as 50%. We will have to. We will not have the revenues coming in. The next crash is going to explode our debt. GDP is going to plummet. The same hump you saw in that graph is going to happen all over again. But it's not going to be because of a pandemic. It's going to be because of the Trump pandemic. He willfully chose to do this because the economy, the worst thing he could have done was slap tariffs on goods and further choke our economy, leaving the Fed in a position where they cannot react the way they would traditionally react. Deborah with dogs, pay off all your debts, hug your job, and hunker down. Best advice I can give you. Now, what I'm going to get is a lot of emails saying, Paul, what do I do? You've told us this problem's coming, but what do I do? I am not and will not and never will be your financial advisor. You must deal with this as it comes. You must deal with your financial advisor to determine your situation and what you do. I know what I'm doing. But that's not going to apply to you. Everybody has a different situation. And this is outstanding advice. Outstanding advice. This is coming. In fact, it's already happening. U.S. housing market poised to crash worse than 2008, experts warn. Peter Thiel is screaming about this, and he's on Trump's side. And 50% plunge could start as soon as 2026. Protect yourself now. It has already started in markets like Phoenix, Tennessee. They're saying 1 in 7 houses. And you know, folks, if you've been around while I have, you'll understand what a mouth-dropping statistic this is. But 1 in 7 houses in Tennessee is selling today, losing money. That doesn't happen. Real estate is always, the American dream. Go out and buy a house. Why? Because it will be your family's wealth. It will always increase in value. It is not anymore. It is not anymore. As many as 50% of investors are losing money. They're losing money on real estate investments. That's really happening right now. I urge you to Google Phoenix real estate market. I urge you to Google Tennessee real estate market, Florida real estate markets, and see what is happening across the world. The most vulnerable markets have already started to plunge. But folks, this is leading to falling home prices. What happens in 2026 when home values fall and people are underwater? The same thing that happened in 2007 and 2008. They walk away. They walk away. Folks, investment, I'm talking about investor class, not you and me buying homes. I'm talking about investor class. Just a wild guess. I love to do this with you people. I know I'm not supposed to. It's everybody that tells you how to run a show tells you never do this, but I don't care. It's my show, our community. I love doing this. Wild guess. I'm going to take a sip of coffee and give you a chance to guess. How much do you think investors, how much has investor class investment in real estate fallen over the last few months? How much are you've got a normal track of investment. They've pulled back. They're no longer investing in real estate. How much do you think that's fallen? In percentages. ET, St. Pete was empty the week before Christmas with lots for sale, rent signs, while DeSantis grifts more from Florida economy. Get involved, people. And my Sam's has tons of shit left in it. We were shopping yesterday. I was in Sam's Club, and I was pointing out, look at all these fucking TVs. Pardon my language. There's so much unsold shit from the holidays in Sam's. It's not even funny. 20%? No, you're low. 25%? No, you're low. Too high. Too high. Too high. Too low. Too high. Uncle Fatty's the closest with it's 50%. 50% reduction in investor money going into real estate. 50%. That's why they're saying 2026 is a crash, because not only are we seeing markets that are falling already, new investment gone. The demand gone. Prices are so high, this next generation isn't buying houses. It isn't. Kira loves Michael. Thank you for always being here. And Trump's tariffs ensured that they can't lower interest rates to spur housing purchases because it will cause hyperinflation. But they're running up against a brick wall where they're going to have to do it anyways. They're going to have to do it anyways. When the numbers come out, they're gonna bullshit about the numbers. But I believe my eyes. I believe when I walk into Sam's Club and they still have TVs stacked that they had for sale, the holiday sales and game systems and all kinds of shit just left on the shelves. That tells me that they're this holiday wasn't as good as they're trying to claim it was. All right, we talked about housing. You can see where they can't react to it. They can't slash interest rates because of what Trump did. And was I clear on that? Sometimes I'm not completely clear. The economy was choking. What needed to happen was interest rates needed to be brought down. In comes Donald Trump. Tariffs. Trying to shift the tax burden on from the oligarchs onto you through a stealth sales tax. Tariffs. That causes inflation to start creeping back up. So they cannot cut interest rates to spur the economy. The economy is still slowly choking and choking and choking and choking. On top of that, housing markets are starting to crash. On top of that, the one thing that's been a bright spot is that the Dow hasn't collapsed. That the stock market hasn't collapsed. Yeah. Everybody knows what's coming in the stock market. This is price to earnings ratio. I've been screaming about this. If you follow my social media, if you're a longtime viewer of this show, I've been screaming about this, that valuations on Wall Street make no sense. Tesla. Tesla. Valuations on Wall Street make no sense. They're tied to nothing. No reality. You have companies valued so high that they couldn't possibly earn enough money over the foreseeable future to ever justify their stock price. That happens, and then this happens. One second. Veggie Owl Girl says, around here, people are buying up all the houses as soon as they go on the market. That's some markets. But I guarantee you, if you check it out, it's slowing down. It's slowing down. You have some of the institutional investors are trying to hedge their bets by moving into the high-end markets that traditionally stay high because they know they're going to be the most desirable markets that, they're going to recover. It's going to be a short-term loss and they're going to recover. Many of these markets never will. But yeah, this is going on, folks. You've got, this for reference, you've got the great crash of 1929. Then you've got the dot-com bubble around 2000. And you see where that ended. This low spot right here. I want you to pay attention to this. Look at the date on this. The dot-com bubble burst, but it didn't do what happened in the Great Depression, where it just shot back up. No, it dropped and then boom, it continued to drop. What happened here? This was the banking housing crisis that led to the worldwide recession. This is when Obama took office here. And then we had this continued growth in the market. This is when Obama took office. At the bottom of this peak, or at the bottom of this valley. Folks, this is the AI boom. Valuations are off the hook. What is going to happen to the market when people start walking away from their houses next year? Which they're already starting to do in some markets, mind you. What happens when in New York, you bought a little cubicle of an apartment for $1 million? For $500,000, you got a one, literally a studio, which is a nice way of saying no rooms. It's one tiny space. And all of a sudden, it's only worth $400,000. Or your $1 million apartment is only they're for sale for $800,000 and not selling because the economy has tanked, because the Fed cannot boost the economy when it needs to. What happens? This is a series of dominoes. We've seen it before. They did it in 2007. They're doing it again. Skeet Sarah, if you want to see how much evil they have done to the interest rate from 1977 to 1984, people walked out of their homes then too. Yes, that is what happens. That is what happens. When you bought a shit box out in Tyler, Texas, and you paid $350,000 for it, which is a nice house in this area, and suddenly they're listed for $275 and they can't sell them, people start saying, hey, should I keep paying on this or should I just default? I tell you what I'll do. I'll go get one of those unregulated loans, because they're doing that again. Unregulated loans, huge right now. Huge. This is what people do. They say, I'm not going to continue to pay $3,000 a month for a mortgage. I can dump this shit box, get an unregulated loan, buy one for 2/3 of the price, slash my mortgage. Sure. Yeah, I'm going to take a hit on my credit rating, but I'll have a new house. Not my problem. Then we go from a real estate crash to a banking crash, because right now, it is dumb. It is dumb. It is, but it is literally what happens. Right now, our banks are worse off than they were in 2007. They are deeper into derivatives now than they were in 2007. So, and again, it's not me. Look, I should have had a graphic for you for it, but I'll pull one up for you right now. Feel free to go read what Peter Thiel says. Peter Thiel warns U.S. real estate catastrophe will deal massive blow to young Americans, but boomers will be all right. He's talking about the fact that us old people already own our homes. We're not carrying mortgages. We're going to be okay. In fact, we'll be more than okay, because the recovery will end up doing better. And a lot of us have liquid capital around. So when the crash happens, we're going to be fine. In fact, most of us will be better than fine, because we'll invest in real estate after the crash happens. But folks, the dominoes, the economy is a mess. It's being choked by tariffs. It's limiting what we can do to respond. Then the housing market is already struggling. We're seeing a huge contraction. People are ripping their big investors, BlackRock. I'm talking about big investors. They're ripping their money out of the markets. They're ripping out of the housing markets. They're just yanking it out as fast as they can. Any money they're putting in is in the few stable markets. You're talking about LA, New York, Chicago. The big stable markets is where they're putting their money in, and that's it. They've reduced their investment by 50%. So demand is way down. Inventories are stacking up because people can't buy them because interest rates are so high. And we saw that income, is not keeping up with inflation anymore. And it's one domino after another. And everybody, including right-wingers, are saying 2026 is when it happens. And you want to know one of the most perverse things? Typically, Democrats would be moving heaven and earth to do everything they can to prevent this. They can't. Democrats have no power. Democrats don't control Congress. Democrats don't control the White House. Democrats don't control the Supreme Court. This crash is going to be spectacular because Republicans are doing nothing to prevent it. Because if they do anything, They have to admit it's happening. Meanwhile, and let's just talk about the politics of this for a second. Let's just talk about the politics of it. Colleen Sarah, 8364. Thank you for guiding me through the challenging year. Happy 2026. Let's just talk about the politics of it. You have Trump intentionally hurting California, intentionally hurting New Jersey, intentionally hurting. We've done story after story of what's going on. We just talked about, again, intentionally hurting Minnesota. It doesn't work politically when you control Congress and the White House. This is all on them. And when this crash happens, it's going to happen right before the midterms. If you're a Democrat, that is the one saving grace of what's going on. I'm telling you, take some time. Look at Democrats. Look at what they're saying in Congress. They're just clawing at their faces, desperately trying to prevent this. But politically, it's a perfect storm for them. Epstein, drip, 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 drip. Trump is dying. For Christ's sake, he just spent an entire weekend unable to simply say, we struck a loading terminal. He couldn't say it. Couldn't say it. That the CIA, which, by the way, is another problem, the CIA just blew up a terminal in Venezuela. You've got Trump dying and getting weaker and weaker and weaker. The economy is struggling. Even Peter Thiel is saying we are headed for a crash, man. And when that happens, it's all on Trump. Because these tariffs have been the president has diarrhea of the mouth. He can't stop talking about his favorite word is tariffs. This is going to happen, folks. This is going to happen. And again, I'm telling you, we need to remember when this happens, you have got to be the smart ones in the room. You do. Let's be honest. If you're watching this show, you're probably not a kid. You're probably well established. I'm finding that our audience is usually doing okay for themselves. They tend to be. We have a pretty successful audience here. We're the kind of people that we're going to make it through this crash. It's going to suck. It's going to hurt. It is. It's going to suck for everybody. But of the people that survive these things, we tend to be doing okay on the other side. But we're going to have to remember, we've got to control these narratives. And let me tell you a story. I want to end this up with a story. Me and Mrs. Texas Paul, we had lunch yesterday. And it was the last Taco Tuesday of the year, so we went and had tacos. The young lady that was helping us at the counter took good care of us. She did. She took good care of us. Mrs. Texas Paul asked her a couple questions, and it became abundantly clear she wasn't brilliant. Okay, let's just say it that way. I want to be as kind as I can be about this. This was not a brilliant person that we were talking to. But she took good care of us, man. She did. And as far as her place in the big picture, she was important. We were out taking care of business. We were out spending and stimulating the economy. She made sure that we were fed. She was important to everything that happened yesterday. Republicans don't respect these people. They think that they're disposable, ugly people they don't want to talk to, and this. No. But the fact that she's not a deep thinker means that politically, these conversations that you and I just had, I can't have with her. I can't. You can't. Nobody can. She's not going to look at a chart of GDP and inflation versus wages. And that's you people. That's you people. You can do that. You can understand the big picture of what's happening. Jordan B. Miller says Trump is suffering with Biden derangement syndrome, and he will try to blame Biden. That is all he's ever done. Will not work 2 years in. Year and a half to 2 years in doesn't work. But let me tell you, this perfectly nice, wonderful person that took care of us, who's politically, by the way, on our side. She is. She's with us. But our messaging has to be such that it reaches her. Our messaging has to be such that it gets her out to vote. We can't be high-minded about all of this. We've got to reach those people. And I know I beat this horse to death, but this was just such, I was talking to Mrs. Texas Paul about this. This is exactly what I'm talking about when I say that we've got to be the smart ones in the room. We cannot be the purists. We can't be the people that get lost in the weeds on our high-minded, oh, we've got to fix this and we've got to do that and we've got to do this. Our messaging needs to be simple, short, and it must be motivating to the majority of the population. And there's a huge percentage of the population out there that are just like this wonderful young lady that I dealt with yesterday. Glenn Kaneko, yes, we'll probably be okay, but I worry about my son and his growing family. 40s, multi-generational households. That's what we're heading towards. I am so glad we built this house when we retired. It was bigger than we needed because we knew that it was going to be multiple generations that were living in this house at one time. It's slowly emptied out. It's going to fill back up. I am so glad. That's what Peter Thiel means by you and I are going to be okay. Gen X and boomers, we're going to be fine on the other end of this. Skeet Sayer, Russia is why we need Nuremberg. Yeah. Folks, politically, there's so much work to be done. But I just want to hammer this home. Sure, all of this is going to happen. Yes, this is a perfect storm for Democrats. Yes, the wind is already at our back. We are killing it in not just off year and off year. I'm talking special elections where Democrats never show up. We are devastating these Republicans, and they're running home to mama with this Somalia thing and found some black people to hate. Will not work during a collapse. It just won't. It'll be meaningless. They're eating the dogs and they're eating the cats. Don't mean a whole lot when you ain't got nothing to fucking eat. So let's go into this new year realizing our mission, what we have to do. Let's move into this new year with the understanding that we've got a message. Our message has to be succinct. It has to be short. It cannot be these 2-hour programs that you and I do, hour and a half to 2 hour programs that you and I do together. It's got to be shorts, under a minute. It's got to be able to grab that beautiful, kind young woman that helped us out yesterday, that is morally and, everything about her, it puts her on our side. That messaging has to reach her. Jordan B. Miller, we need to talk to people on their level, not ours. That's why I love you people. That's why I love you people. That is the best way. I mean, that is the best way we could possibly put that. That, folks, is your job. That is what you have to do. That's what our community has to do. And I love you folks. The fact that you can just, I mean, boom, you've got it. My job to sit us all down and say, hey, look, this is happening. This is what's coming. It's really coming. It doesn't matter the bullshit that the corporate media does for Trump. It will not matter. The corporate media is going to completely forget that their role in all of this. So I'm doing my part. I'm working, y'all have said, hey, you need to open up a Substack. I have a Substack. I just don't do anything with it. I am educating myself so that how I can start to put more information out on Substack. Y'all cried, y'all demanded memberships. You got memberships. We opened up the YouTube member. By the way, if you're watching this in replay, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and memberships are now available. I'm going to do what I can. I haven't seen a lot of the emojis in chat. Are they out there? Are they available? I set them up. They should be available. Are you seeing the emojis that are there? The hearts and skull emoji, and what? Carl Rossi, new platform thing. I appreciate it. I do appreciate it. Help me out with that, folks. I'm wrapping up the show. All right. Something interesting, a little inside baseball for you is I'm actually not seeing those emojis. I'm seeing the title for the emoji. So it says hearts. It says blue, blue, blue. It's the title I gave is what I'm seeing. Zelensky. And yeah, that's what I'm seeing. I want to hear from you people. Your memberships have unlocked tons more emojis that I can add, spaces for emojis. What would you like to see in those emojis? I have spoken to the guys over at Midas and gotten permission from them to set up a Midas Mighty emoji. I talked to Hal Sparks on the phone the other day and got his permission specifically to put a Sparklers emoji out. I'm going to throw one out there for Brando. What else would you like to see in the emojis? Let me know, and I will make that happen. This is the things that I'm doing going into 2026. I literally spent all day yesterday learning about how to best utilize Substack. I mean, 10 hours of watching videos and reading and stuff. I am committing myself to 2026. We have an election coming up. It's going to be a really big deal. The Republicans are desperate. They are going to throw every bit of nasty shit at the wall. We're doing what we have to do, man. We're doing what we have to do to make it happen. So let's expand this. Let's get everything going. Hit the subscribe button. If memberships is something you can do, I intentionally put that low-level membership out there. If you can gift memberships, that's great. Let's get it done, folks. Anything that you think that I need to be doing moving forward, I want you to go to realtexaspaul.com. My email link is there. I want to hear from you. How do we get everything motivated and moving going into 2026? Because let me tell you something, the Democratic Party has been putting in the work. I got guys like Hector Garza running here in a seat that's just been pretty much a layup for Republicans. Hector Garza is killing it. He is killing it. He is working like a dog, man. He is busting his ass. Used to be the head of the Smith County Democrats. He said, look, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, and I'm going to run, man. And he's doing it. He's going out to these communities, and he's got the wind at his back. You've got candidates all over the country that are doing their part. What can we do? I'm buying websites. I'm taking the money you give me. I'm buying websites. I'm preparing. I'm going into 2026 guns blazing. What do you want to see? Let me hear from you. This is Old Texas Paul. Enjoy some Texas cities at night.